what does that actually look like in practice?
So how do we connect people? Thinking about this institution of the University of Mississippi, it is gigantic. There's a department for everything. There is a position for everything. There's millions and millions of opportunities that are happening all the time.
How do you stay grounded while navigating systems?
Find your people and find your community. And so I think that's why you see on lots of college campuses or giant institutions, because even lots of corporate institutions, they're pretty similar. If you find these groups, I see community in groups, student groups on campus. That's a community for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
I see community in departments. That's a community for people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Ode to Be Young podcast. And I am so excited to record this episode because I have a very, very special guest with me, Dr. Castel V, who serves as a director of community engagement and an associate professor of community engagement here at the University of Mississippi, and a great mentor of mine. So this is a space, Dr. Sweet, where I want to take a step back and look at what it really means to go through life while figuring it out. And today's conversation is very personal to me. And I say that because I come from Indianola, Mississippi, a place in the Delta. I'm sure you're familiar with the Delta. Yeah. So a place in the Delta where opportunities are very limited. And if you're looking for opportunities, you're often having to search outside of the Delta. Like every opportunity I remember finding, I found on my own. And it was typically me traveling about an hour and a half to Jackson.
Yeah.
So there's that. So nobody really sits you down and kind of go through how do you maneuver or navigate spaces of how institutions work.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to talk about that for a second. So I'll stop here and allow you to introduce yourself. And then we'll go from there. So just tell the podcast a little about yourself and your journey, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I am Castel V. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. So very familiar with Mississippi, growing up pretty similar. Actually, my grandfather's from Indianola.
Really? Did not know that.
So very familiar with the area. But I think it's also, yes, I think they're in the Delta. There is a lack of opportunity, but I can also say that across the South in general. So I'm sure you're not alone in how you're feeling. It may be exacerbated in the Delta,
right,
but I think there are probably a lot of others that have felt the same way that you felt. So I'm so glad that you're talking about it.
Yes. So let's start here. When we say institutions, what are we really talking about?
Yeah, so institutions are pretty broad. So if you think about any organization that has its own set of defined processes, procedures, practices, that also comes with its own culture. But institutions can be religious institutions, right? So anything where you know that there is a particular way of how that place, how that organization, how those groups of people operate, that's an institution.
That's an institution. Because I think for a lot of students, including myself, institutions can sometimes feel distant. Like there's not really an opportunity to really grow in an institution or be a part of an institution. So from your perspective, how does power and structure show up in these environments?
Yeah, and I think for any kind of institution, too, it always feels daunting, especially as an outsider. Because, again, it has its own way of operating. So if you're not familiar with it, you have no clue what you're stepping into. It feels like you're stepping into this brand new world, and everyone else knows what's going on but you.
Right.
And so I think that's how power shows up in terms of knowledge. So who knows how this institution operates and who doesn't know how the institution operates. And so that can feel like, okay, I have no power, no say, because I have no clue what's going on. I don't know how to navigate this thing. And so you can often feel powerless. But I would say for most students, being comfortable just jumping in and figuring it out. So it's okay if you make mistakes. It's understandable. You're not familiar with the institution. So how can you jump in, try to pick up as much as you can, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So when there's something going on or you're trying to navigate something, just ask someone, right? Because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And so that's the easiest way that most of us feel like we don't have any kind of understanding or lack of access is we just say, oh, I have no clue. And we kind of throw up our hands and give up. But instead, we should think about, who can I ask? Who's the closest person who's probably been here for a while, who knows even a little bit more. You don't have to find the expert, just a little bit more than you know, so that you can learn how to navigate it, learn what's going on and what's really happening, and not just assume because you don't know that you shouldn't know, that you shouldn't have access to that information. It's just probably because most of the people who are aware, they don't think that we should share that information with the new folks who joined that institution.
That makes perfect sense. And I remember when I first came to the University of Mississippi, and I think my start in terms of this center was with the Bonner program, and I was connected with the YMCA. And that was a great opportunity. And I enjoy working with the kids and tutoring the kids. And I think without the Bonner program and it showing up on like the special scholarship application thing to attend here at the University of Mississippi, then I wouldn't be so familiar with the programs when we talk about the Center for Community Engagement, what do we really mean by that, right? Because like your work, I know people maybe on campus, what does that center do, right? So I guess explain in your role, because for me, I know you connect pretty much partners on campus to those external partners. I just did a partnership with you and another organization. So explain to the podcast, what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, so it looks just like that of how do we connect people? So thinking about this institution of the University of Mississippi, it is gigantic. There's a department for everything. There is a position for everything. There's millions and millions of opportunities that are happening all the time that even I've been here for years and I still don't know about. And so the Center for Community Engagement is ideally a space where people, whether they're on campus, if they want to get connected to community and they don't know where to start, we can help be that bridge for them and vice versa. So if community want to get connected to campus and they don't know where to start, we can be that space for them. So hopefully people will see community in the title and like, oh, I'm interested in that. Let me reach out and let me explore. And so that's how we kind of position ourselves as a convener, as a connector, so that people don't feel like they have to navigate institutions on their own, that they don't have to navigate community on their own, that there could be someone to at least do an introduction. Like you might want to talk to this person.
Right.
I may not have all the answers and I won't have all the answers, but hopefully I can point you in the right direction so you don't feel like you're so lost and trying to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. And, you know, you are a sociologist by practice, which I wish if I was to go back maybe or stay another. Wait a minute. Or stay another year, because I am graduating early. Maybe I would kind of do a minor in sociology, because I'm always kind of intrigued on like the intricacies of how it connects to everything. So how do you think in your practice of community engagement and your sociology background, how do those two things intertwine?
Yeah, so I think about the sociology, if you think about sociology, it's people, it's institutions, it's communities, it's how people engage with one another. How do we live together? How do we work together? Just like, what is our social life look like? And so how do those things blend and mesh in our lived environment? And so that's exactly what we're trying to do with community engagement is how do we blend together this campus, this institution of higher education? How do we blend that into the rest of the community? A lot of times campuses kind of feel like they are a world of their own, separate from the places where they exist. That shouldn't be the case, but oftentimes it feels as if that's the case because it just feels so jarring to go from this giant institution that has all these different departments, all these different majors, all these different things happening. And then you go out into the real world, there aren't departments. There aren't those same silos in the way that we silo our different academic disciplines.
Yes.
Community, we operate in interdisciplinary fashion in everything you do. And so I can see my background in sociology of how do we translate that back and forth between these two different worlds. So even if you are in public policy, how do you think about what does public policy look like in the lived environment? Outside of a classroom, what does that actually mean? All this stuff that we're talking about and studying. How do I actually engage with that in the rest of the world? And so that's kind of sociology. Like, how do you bring your knowledge, your skills, your expertise, and actually engage with the people around you to contribute to a place? Because no one's going to have all the things.
Right.
But what can you offer to contribute to the collective that's in community?
Got you. And let me ask you, did you just because I think coming in, of course, we hear the term community, how does one step into like a community engagement role? Did this just come about? Like, how do you see community? Because I know you work in it, so you may see it different from how I see it.
So I see community as the world, which is a sociologist's perspective.
Okay.
So I see community in everything. I see community in groups, student groups on campus. That's a community for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
I see community in departments. That's a community for people. I see community in family. I see community, of course, in your neighborhood of where you live. And we all engage with those spaces in very drastically different ways. So community looks differently depending on what you're doing and what's going on and where you are and who's around you. But community is really a group of people. And community doesn't have to be a physical space. We think of now, particularly with online things, you can have virtual communities of communities, of groups of people that share interests in, podcasts. That's a community. You can be in a community with people that you've never seen in your life, but you engage with them on a regular basis. And so thinking about just who do you engage with other people around some kind of shared factor, whether it's shared space, shared commonality, shared belief system, shared skill set. That's how I define community.
So essentially, for those who, because, I understood what you said, but to put it in layman's terms, communities essentially people you probably are more so equally yoked with.
Kind of, but sometimes you may not be equally yoked with them. So if you think about our campus community is gigantic. There's over 20,000 people. You're in community with them, but you may not be equally yoked with all of them.
Okay, that's true.
Same thing with your neighborhood, right? So if you live in an apartment or if you live in a neighborhood, a couple blocks, you're in community with them. You might not even engage with them. You may just wave as you pass by.
Okay, that's fair.
And so it's different. And so your relationship to different communities vary based upon your engagement with those communities.
Got you. How do you stay grounded in who you are while navigating systems like this?
Yeah, to keep using our word is find your people and find your community. And so I think that's why you see on lots of college campuses or giant institutions, because even lots of corporate institutions, they're pretty similar. If you find these groups, these affinity-based groups or some kind of groups where people can find their grounding, and so that they don't feel lost in the sea of just people, but they can find people that they can share and engage with on a deeper way and not just in a transactional or in passing. So that's why you see on lots of college campuses, there's hundreds and hundreds of student organizations. So you can find your group, so you can find your tribe, you can find your community, and you don't feel like you're just going to class and going home or doing this project and then going home. You find people that you can actually grow with and engage with over your time here, because particularly on a college campus, you're changing your routine every semester.
Yes, tell me about it.
So that's like every 3 months.
Yeah.
So by the time you get used to it, you're switching up and doing something else. But the consistent thing, hopefully you found a community of people. Whether that's community your peers or a community of other instructors or mentors. But you kind of hopefully cultivate this sense of community that help you navigate that institution and guide you along the way. So you don't get lost after 4 years of that routine of getting a schedule, getting used to it, starting over again, getting a schedule, getting used to it, starting over again. It kind of feel mundane.
Yes, it does.
But then you find your people and hopefully y'all can do some other things outside of that to bring some more meaning to it.
Like for me, that would probably look like finding a restaurant here.
Yes.
Or Memphis. I do like to travel to Memphis sometime. And eat, because, that's my favorite thing to do. You know, I know you like to be in the garden. And
I like to eat the good food, too.
Yeah, get foods and garden. I'm going to let you have the garden.
Yeah.
I don't really do. I like to see it, though. I like a good spray.
No, we got to eat the good food out of the garden and put in the work, to make it look beautiful.
Well, see, that's your ministry. That's your community, not my community. So that is different. Let me ask you, what are some mistakes you see students make when trying to engage in these spaces?
Yeah, I would say just being hesitant. So again, it always feels like, and it's not just for students, it's even for faculty and staff who are coming to institutions for the first time. You also always feel like, oh, I'm the new person and I just have to figure it out on my own, or I'm supposed to know these things already. You're not supposed to. And so I see the mistake of not being as willing to ask the questions, seek out the things that you're interested in, or also if you can't find the things that you know you need out of a place, don't be afraid to create it. or to vocalize like, hey, this is missing, because you might not be the only one that feels that way. So thinking about how do you step outside of that, let me just go along to get along mentality,
Yes.
but really think about, okay, maybe I have some other questions, or this isn't just making sense to me. How can I vocalize that out loud to illustrate that and not feel like, oh, I'm dumb for not knowing, but this isn't apparent. So maybe some things need to be improved so that more people can know and understand. So being willing to ask questions, go to people and say like, hey, I want to just set up a meeting to get to know you. So it's all those things of just engaging that can always feel awkward, particularly for someone like me that's an introvert. I don't want to walk up to nobody.
Really?
But that's the way you're going to engage and make new friends.
I would have never known. I don't think I would have thought you was an introvert.
Oh, I'm definitely an introvert. I don't want to talk to people.
And then so, see, the irony in that, because you are in a community role.
I know I'm supposed to. I don't want to, but I know I'm supposed to. So that's why I'm saying that that's the key thing of getting out that you don't want to, but do it. Push yourself to do it anyway.
So sometimes in life, you just have to go out, just be like Nike and just do it because you don't have a choice.
That's right.
And I think one of the things with the minor that pretty much got me was, because if y'all do not know, so this is the chairperson for the Community Engaged Leadership minor here at the University of Mississippi, also my minor. And I think what got me interested in the minor was that I was like, community. You keep hearing the community word, but how do I understand how communities work and how do I be a leader in the community? Because it's a learned thing.
It is definitely a learned thing. And you have to define it for yourself. Like, I can't define community for you. I can define community for me, but then it's not till you define community for you that then you can say, okay, I'm a leader in that community. Because you're not a leader in my community is different than yours.
Right.
And so it's also coming to terms with like, how do you as an individual define your community? And then how do you want to engage with that defined community and be a leader in that space? And that's unique for every person. And it's also unique depending on the skill sets that you have. Even if we share a community, your leadership may be different than mine.
Right.
That's not to say one is more valuable than the other. We probably need both of them.
Right.
But you have to articulate, what am I providing? What am I offering? And what am I getting out of this based upon your background, your knowledge, your learning, your experience? So it's also a lot of self-reflection that you have to do to understand how you engage with other people too.
Gotcha. Dr. Sweet, I have enjoyed, I'm quick with it.
Okay.
I have enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate it, and hopefully this helps a lot of young folks, including myself. But I will say before I close, if there's one or two things you want to leave the young people with, what would that be?
Don't be afraid to step up, because we need those leaders. And I think that is what a leader is somebody who's willing to step up when the other folks aren't, to be able to either ask the question, say the thing, do the thing. So don't let your own fears, anxieties, whatevers hold you back from stepping up and doing and being the person that you should be.
And before I go, I know you love the music. Do you want to give the people some beats before you go or no? Because I heard you sing too?
No, no, I don't sing. That's why I listen.
Oh, okay. I was just making
sure. Good ears.
I was just making sure. Well, thank you again for joining. This has been the O2B Young podcast. You are not lost. You are becoming. And I will see you on the next go. Thank you.